Hi guys, I think we'll get started 6:05. Uh, thanks all for joining. We got around 60 people. Uh, I am Manish here from Salesforce Singapore Developer Group. So along with me, Shiva, we both run this Singapore Developer Group. Uh, we've been running this for the past 8 years now, I think, from 2012 onwards. So it's been a long journey. This time, for the past couple of months, we have been running these virtual online, so many of them can join from different countries. So that's a big advantage for everyone. Uh, so in this meetup, for this one, we will be sharing about TrailheaDX. So it's a Salesforce event that was conducted this year. Uh, every year they run this Trailhead DX. So DX stands for Developer Experience. So this event is a 2-day event run in the US, but this time because of the COVID thing, they have done it virtual as well. So there's no in-person event. So it's very similar to the Dreamforce event, but the difference here is the topics that they cover. It's purely for to showcase what Salesforce is doing in terms of its technology, what new features they're bringing in, and how they're improving the product. So mostly showcasing on the product itself. Whereas Dreamforce, along with that, you will see more on the customer experience and customer success stories. So that part would be missing in a Trailhead DX event. So even if you are interested for next years, you should be uh, really going for this if you are interested in the Salesforce technology, because you will get to see a lot of new features, including the demos as well. So that would be a nice event in terms of technology. So this is like a technology event. So because most of us couldn't attend uh, because of various reasons, so we have Aditya from Salesforce itself. So Aditya is a Salesforce developer evangelist. So he will be walking us through all the important updates that were announced during this event. So these global gatherings are conducted across various regions now. That's why it's called global gatherings. Everyone will be sharing about the TrailheaDX updates. So before I hand over it to Aditya, so a couple of things from this event itself I'll be covering. Uh, just not more than two, I think. So if you are interested in giving back to the Salesforce community, so there are a couple of options. So if you want to be involved in Salesforce community, uh, and the first one is Trailblazer mentorship. So if you know someone who is who wants to get into Salesforce technology and looking for a coach or a mentor, then this is the best place to start. uh, it's called Trailblazer mentorship. The URL is here, or you can also search on Trailhead. You'll find this mentorship. So what happens in this program is you sign up for this as a mentee. So based on your requirements, so for example, if you're an admin and you want to move into a consultant role, or if you're a developer and what should be the career growth that you want to look at. So if you have some, or if even if you are someone new into Salesforce technology, you want to move into the Salesforce technology, so you can sign up for this and you will be assigned a mentor. So the mentor will help you progress your career basically, and help you in building your resume, giving you career advice, even giving you technical tips on everything. So that mentor will be helping you in guiding you throughout your Salesforce career. So that is one part. The other part is, if you think you will be a great mentor for others, and you have gone through a lot of uh, like people who are into Salesforce technology for over 10 years or 5 years, so who have good experience of how to deal with this, so they can apply as a mentor itself. So based on your skill set, you'll be assigned a mentee, so you both can connect and take this forward. So it's for both mentors and mentee. Then the other one is this trail mix. You can This is for everyone. So if you complete this trail mix, you will get a $50 voucher that you can donate to any charitable trust. So this is another way of giving it back to the society using Salesforce community. So these two are the ways you can connect with the Salesforce community. So without sorry. So yeah. So without any further ado, I'll hand over it to Aditya. So Aditya, maybe you can share your screen and continue from here. I'll also update. Meanwhile, while I'll stop the presenting. Aditya.
Hey.
Yes. Yeah. So you can take over from here. I stop presenting, so you can start the presentation from your side. So before that, so just an update for everyone. So we will have the quiz running after this session. So we are giving away almost 6 certification vouchers, each worth 200 or even $400 exam can be used for these vouchers. So we'll run a quiz based on what we are going through in this meetup. So there's no additional knowledge required. So you just focus on what's being discussed here. So you should be able to answer. So we will go through that after the end of this session. So Aditya will be covering admin, developer, and architect track. So there's something for everyone to learn from this. Okay, Aditya, I think you can start from here. Yeah.
Yeah, minor disclaimer, it is not all from today's session. It is general developer and admin topics, but nothing too difficult that you won't be able to answer.
No problem.
Okay. So that's the second, too many windows. Okay. Yeah, hope you're able to see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone joining from Singapore. And I don't know how many of you joined from India also. This is a very convenient time for Indians. So from wherever you're joining from, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Aditya. And thank you for joining me today for these global gatherings. I mean, Manish already gave a very good introduction about TrailheaDX and why we are doing global gatherings. So before I jump into anything, quick forward-looking statement. Please make any of your purchasing decisions based on publicly available information, generally available products, but not based on what I might show today. And today we are going to look at quite a few products which are not yet generally available. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Like I said, my name is Aditya. I work as a senior developer evangelist at Salesforce. I've joined Salesforce a year and a half ago, but I was on the platform for about 7 years now. 13 certifications till date. I still haven't tried my hands on the LWC Super Badge or the JavaScript Developer one. I'm yet to do that. Other than that, you can definitely follow me on my Twitter handle and get to know any of the latest announcements, any events that I'm doing, or any casual conversations that you might want to have. Reach out on Twitter, definitely. That is about me. Any more questions about me, please do ask on chat. I think Google Chat is pretty good. And before starting the session, again, I want to say thank you for joining this session today. Thank you for being a Salesforce customer. Thank you for being a Salesforce developer. Thank you for whatever you're doing. And keep doing awesome stuff, building great products on Salesforce. Now, TrailheaDX, like Manish mentioned, it is one of an event that we do at Salesforce. We do Dreamforce, we do TrailheaDX, we do World Tours. All of it cater towards different audiences. But TrailheaDX continues to be the one event that is always focused on developers and admins, architects. So basically, developers, I use it as a broad term to everybody building on the Salesforce platform. So we had this time, I think we try to give the same experience that we get in person in the online space. So what we had is a keynote, which we called as the main show, which ran for an hour and a half. And then afterwards, there were 4 breakout or channels, which each of the channels dealt with one particular segment of audience, that is developers, admins, architects, and community. So talking about the main show, I think the major highlight of the entire main show was the launch of Salesforce Anywhere. So how many of you have already started working with Salesforce Anywhere? I mean, it's in beta. and the mobile app is also launched on the App Store and Play Store. So you can download it right now and get your hands on it. And there is also a form that you need to fill up. Just find it online, and basically you can enroll in the beta version and try it out. Basically, what Salesforce Anywhere is, it's a chat-first experience for Salesforce. Meaning that, I mean, up until today, you used to use Salesforce as a CRM product. You have all of your data stored in there. But if you want to communicate with people, you always had to go to a third-party chat messenger application. So collaboration was always external to Salesforce. I mean, we had Chatter, but it was not that kind of a direct messaging kind of an interface. So with the Anywhere app, we are providing that chat-first experience onto Salesforce, typically meaning in this new mobile app, the first screen that you see is a chat window, and you get to see all of the chats. So think of it like WhatsApp on Salesforce. You get to see all of the chats. In each of the chat, you may have messages, files, and also Salesforce records. And we also added Einstein on top of it, which means you can take action in context. What it means is that once you're looking at a record, Einstein is going to recommend the best action that you can take on that record. And of course, it is not just individual chat. You have group chat options. You can get notified. And the most important one is you can subscribe to alerts. Basically, through this one mobile app, you subscribe to records and you say if something changes on an opportunity or whatever object that you want. So that is the level of flexibility that you get with Anywhere. I'll show you a very quick demo on this. So that might. Okay, it's a recording, by the way. I think it is more smooth this way because all the dummy data and all of it is loaded. So let me go to that. Yeah. So this is the Salesforce Anywhere mobile app. It's a brand new app. It is not the Salesforce mobile app that you already have. Search for Salesforce Anywhere and download it. Here, like I said, this is the chat interface. All of your chats, we call it messages, whatever you want to call it, basically. Everything is available here. And then you go to the next tab on here, which is called the Alerts tab. Here is where you get kind of all the alerts or notifications on any record changes that you have subscribed to. So this is not all the records. So you can specifically say if you're interested in, let's say, the Anaco account in this example. If you want to only get examples related to Anaco account, you actually get only those. And this is the feed, basically. So the subscriptions tab is going to allow you to subscribe to new records. Now, again, this is in beta. So expect quite a lot of changes between what you're seeing and what you can download, because we are taking customer feedback and we are implementing it. So the user interface might go through a few updates, but overall, the functionality is the same. And then let's say you want to subscribe to a new record. You go to this manage subscriptions page where you say, I want to subscribe to these records and I want to be notified on changes for any of these additional fields or related objects. So basically, it's a notification first app or a chat first app. Now, once you have an alert, the other feature. Yeah, sure.
Can we search for records here? Salesforce records?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You can search for Salesforce records as well. Okay, so you can share. So once you get an alert, or even if you don't get an alert, basically, what you can do is you can share these records with people. So you have share alert, which takes you to kind of like this forward interface. All of us have seen it on WhatsApp. You find members whom you want to forward this message to or share this alert with, and then you type whatever message that you want, and you click send. And what is the interface of that chat? So once you click send, basically this is the chat interface where you have the message, then you have the record. And in this record, you actually get to see a few details of the record. And the fields that you see here is completely controlled by what permissions you have. So if you're not supposed to see a field, you won't be able to see it. So, and yeah, the next one is notifications. So definitely once you're added to a chat, and if you don't want to get notified for all of these things, I mean, we are frustrated with number of notifications we get. So we typically mute any WhatsApp group that we get added to. So in a very similar fashion, if you want to mute or you want to control what notifications you get from specific chats, you can go to the notification settings and you can select either of these options. You can get notified all the time, or just when somebody mentions you, or you want to receive no notifications at all. So pretty flexible around the notification mechanism, a little better than the current apps we have. And this is the mobile app. And what we are doing is we are providing a very similar experience on the Lightning Experience desktop as well. So here on the top right, you see a small chat icon. So this is going to open the same chat interface. You click that, and it is the same chat interface, the same conversation. Essentially, it is the same thing. You click on a chat, it is going to open up the chat, and then you can type whatever it is that you want. And you click that small little cloud icon. Of course, you can attach files, you can attach whatever you want. But if you click this cloud icon, you can also attach Salesforce records like you have seen. What you also must see is on this record page, there are all these buttons, and there is now a new button called Share in Chat. So in case you're looking at a record and suddenly you think, oh, I need to share this with somebody, you can just click this button and share this record with somebody in a chat, and you can start having a conversation. So pretty flexible, increasing collaboration in the times that is right now. It is very much important to collaborate better, since not all of us are going to office. So I think this is a great addition to the platform, and I would encourage all of you to try it out and let us know your feedback so that we can make this product better. Of course, during the keynote, we also showed a little futuristic version of this, where which is coming out soon. I'm not going to give a timeline and all because I don't know. But you can also have field level comments. So in case you want to comment on this particular field, might mention somebody, you can just add a comment on this field and it mention them. You can also voice and video chat, and you can also follow the cursor of your colleague. So all of those are nice little features that are going to come out in the future. But for now, it's going to add a very flexible chat feature into Salesforce, along with, of course, take action in the moment kind of interfaces. So if you're on an opportunity and you click on the plus icon on the mobile app, so on this one, Einstein is going to recommend you what you can do on that record. So all of that is built into it. So that is, in a nutshell, about Salesforce Anywhere.
Aditya, so there are a few questions. Just quickly go through before we switch the topic. So first one is,
Sure.
Can we link multiple orgs in this?
Basically, that is what is the vision, I think, able to collaborate. But for now, what I see on the mobile app and the desktop interfaces, I mean, the chat on the desktop is pretty much for the same org. And on the mobile app, it is just like your Salesforce mobile app, right? That you log in first, and then based on your login, the messages show up. So that is how it is. I don't think you can connect multiple logs together. But if the question is about enabling it, currently in beta, you need to fill out that form to get it enabled on any of your orgs. Then you get to try it out and then leave feedback. So that is how the current state is. Future state, I'm not going to comment on it.
Okay.
Is it going to be free or additional? Again, I'm not. I'll just read through all the questions and then
okay, no problem.
let's. Free or cost, I'm not going to comment on the payment part. That you'll have to deal with the account executives. By extra license, I mean, for now, for you to try it, beta, you don't need an extra license per se, but I don't know how it's going to be when it becomes generally available. Is Quip and Anywhere has dependency? Marvelous question. Basically, the entire platform, the backend is Quip. So yeah, the infrastructure essentially we use is that of Quip. But there is no dependency as such. I mean, for example, if you build an app on Salesforce and the front end is a website, like how the back end of it is Salesforce, and the end user need not really know if it is running on Salesforce or Heroku. Like that, Anywhere is also an end user app in the back end, whether it is running on Quip or Heroku and all. It's it's not important. Can we chat with customers? For now, I think you need all of these people to have valid Salesforce to be valid Salesforce users. That is why you can only chat with any user who's on Salesforce. You can chat if customers are on Salesforce. I think you can. Is it available for Android Store? I only saw it on the App Store in all the announcements. I need to check to know if it is on the Android Store. Please check it out. Just search for Salesforce Anywhere. It has this rainbow colored icon. So Quip license has to be prerequisites. Again, licensing structure, pricing structure, not really a lot of details that I can give out because everything is evolving at the moment. Basically, like I mentioned, okay, again, a forward-looking statement for all the next announcements. All the segments in the main story, main session or keynote session are going to be forward-looking. Whatever is in beta, you will have to use it in the current form. More details, I think you'll get to know when it moves closer to GA. Yeah, thank you. Somebody already posted that link. Thank you for that. So that is the case. Try it out, but not a lot of details I can give out at the moment without being in trouble. That is. So yeah, and nobody asked that question, but in my previous global gatherings, people also asked how much control do admins have on stuff that is happening on Anywhere. Again, I would say stay tuned. Of course, this is a mobile app that we are launching. So of course, we are going to give admins some amount of control on what you can customize, what you can automate and stuff. So stay tuned. It's a pretty good announcement. With that, let's move on to the next announcement, which all the developers and admins alike are excited about, which is Code Builder. Now, Code Builder is the answer to the most common question since 1 year, that is, can we build Lightning Web Components on Developer Console? Or why can't we build web components on Developer Console? So I would say this is the next iteration of a developer experience that we are giving on the browser. So of course you had the developer console with you where you could write code, you could fire queries, and then you also had Workbench through which you could explore REST APIs, a lot of things that you could do on Workbench. Now with Code Builder, what we're trying to do is give you kind of like a unified interface where you can do all of that. Now in the backend, it uses Visual Studio Code Spaces, which is why the current user interface, whatever you're looking like, looks a lot like VS Code. This is in pilot, so please expect a lot of changes in terms of the UI or the developer experience or anything going forward. But this is just to let you know what we are working on in the coming future, or what we are working on right now, which is going to launch in the coming future. So you're going to have all of the awesome tools inbuilt into Code Builder, like your autocomplete, your plugins, in case you want to run a Prettier or any other plugin that you want. All of it is going to come right within Code Builder. Now you can think of it like a sophisticated developer console. So right now, when you use VS Code on your desktop, typically your use case is to create a new SFDX project, to authorize an arc, to pull all of the code into your local system and then work on it and deploy full projects. You can do all of that on Code Builder, but you can also have the same flexibility of the developer console where in case you want to edit one line of code in an Apex class, you just launch developer console, make that change and hit Control S. With Code Builder also, we are trying to provide a same interface. So if you want to make a one line change, we don't want you to necessarily replicate a whole project locally, make the changes and then deploy it. It's going to be a very smooth experience, but with the added benefits of an IDE like autocomplete and suggestions, documentation, and a lot of things. So this is in pilot with a very restricted number of customers. Not all of you can try it at the moment. But you will get more details as we move closer to the beta phase or generally available phase. Now, any questions on Code Builder? Um, okay, how fast it will deploy components? Um, okay, it'll deploy it quickly. There is no benchmark as of yet, but since both are on the cloud, I don't really know. I can't comment on that, but yeah, it is going to be fast. I mean, by default, even when you're developing locally, when you run SFDX for source push, it's fast enough. It doesn't take as much time as it takes to deploy a traditional component. Is it any browser dependency? Yes, it runs on the browser. It needs a browser to run. Will it be inbuilt feature of VS Code or extension? So basically, this is a browser-based application code builder. So like you launch developer console from setup, go there, and it launches itself in the browser. It's the same experience. So it will not be an extension on VS Code or anything like that, but everything on browser. How does it work for repo? So Visual Studio Code Spaces is such a way that it has its own file explorer system. So instead of working with the code that is there in your org, you can actually create a project, you can clone a repo and all of that. So all of the features that you get locally also will be available there. But like I said, we have to see how those things evolve in the future. And then I mean, once we move closer towards beta, we'll come up with more demos on all of these use cases. I mean, we are talking to developers, we are talking to our pilot customers. So we know what are the most common use cases. My team or I will come up with demos on how you can do all of that. So stay tuned. It will work with multiple arcs. That is the intention. It is just going to be the same experience on what you get on the desktop to be on the browser also. So expect that you can authorize multiple orgs. You can actually deploy it using whatever command line, anything. It's the same experience. Okay, so the next announcement is DevOps Center. Again, this is announced, and this is a product that we are quite excited about. A lot of questions that even I have, and I'm assuming once I complete my talk, you will also have many questions. But unfortunately, not a lot of answers there. We'll have to wait for more details to see how it is possible. But basically, with the DevOps Center, we are trying to make CI/CD processes and deployments easier for admins. With the DevOps Center in the first version of the DevOps Center that we're going to come out with soon, what you'll have is a clicks-based interface in order to commit your code to a GitHub repo. So you want to have this nice little interface from which you can do multiple things. First of all of it is based on a central object called as work item. And what you do against a work item is you launch a developer environment, and then you make all the changes that you want. And once you come back to the screen that you see in the screenshot, you have a nice little button there called pull changes. And what it's going to do is it's going to pull all the changes that you have made in the org. So those of you who have been developing using SFDX and Scratch orgs, you already know that there is this source tracking available. And right now, source tracking is also available on sandboxes. So any changes that you make is automatically kept track of by this tool, and of course SFDX. But you need not really remember any of that. So the way you just write SFDX for source pull, and we compare what changes you have made since the last pull and get all the changes. Very similarly, using this user interface on DevOps Center, you can just click pull changes and all of the changes are going to come in. And then you can selectively ignore any files that you don't want to commit to the database, and there you click submit changes. What this does is it takes all of these changed components and it commits it to a branch on GitHub. So that is the functionality for now. Basically, that was the end-to-end flow. But if you want to put it in bullet points, it's going to be track changes with a modern UI, which means user interface, make changes, click pull changes button. All the changes come into the UI. Seamlessly integrate with version control. You just click submit changes and then all the code gets pushed into a branch on GitHub. So you need not worry about writing any GitHub commands, installing Git or GitHub onto your local system or stuff like that. Everything is online. And finally, based on a centralized source of truth, the moment you launch a sandbox from the DevOps center, it's automatically going to be synchronized with the source of truth that you specify. That is a GitHub repo. Again, we are trying to make things easier for admins, like I said. I mean, as a developer, you might be used to checking out the source code from GitHub, pushing it, and then pulling it using all of these commands. But as an admin, if you make a single field update, and then you want to push that to a GitHub repo so that your CI/CD process can take it from there, you need not again go to your developer and say, oh, I made this change. Please pull that change and commit it along with whatever you're doing. So that is not needed anymore. The admin will be able to do their part separately. Developers will do their part separately. In the end, version control is source of truth. So that is the DevOps Center. Again, an announcement, a lot of details to come soon, including the most commonly asked question, what about the existing CI/CD tools like Copado and all of those that are out there? Let's stay tuned for more details on how things are going to work out. But okay. Can we configure GitLab or Bitbucket? The first release is only going to have integration with GitHub. GitLab and Bitbucket are going to follow soon. How can we configure CI/CD process? Like I said, the DevOps Center, the vision is to have your entire CI/CD process inside the DevOps Center itself. But for now, the first launch of it, we are doing with this minor part of it, which commits your code into a branch. And most probably all your CI/CD setup that you have is going to be based on the GitHub repo itself. So the moment your CI/CD tool detects a change on your repository, it's going to initiate the process of deployment, verification, and all of that. So that is going to remain the way it is. The only change is going to be how you commit your code into the version control system. When will DevOps Center be available? Forward-looking. Profile and field access would be tracked with this. Yes, any changes to the profiles will come in there. And then you'll push it accordingly. So I think those are the questions that we have. And finally, coming to Salesforce functions. So we launched this at Dreamforce by the name of Salesforce Evergreen. But now we have renamed it to Salesforce Functions. Pretty much it is the same thing, but with a different name. So with this, you can write a piece of code as a function and deploy it on our serverless runtime. And it is going to scale elastically based on how much ever bandwidth or how much ever computing power that your function might take. Basically, it follows the concept of functions as a service, a new programming paradigm. And you can write the code for the function on programming languages like Node.js, Java, or Apex. And in the first release, we are going to support Node.js. More support will be rolled out later. But the flexibility you're going to get is you write this piece of code, deploy it on our serverless runtime, and then you can invoke it from any of the point-and-click tools or code-based tools. So for example, you can invoke your function from a process builder, or you can invoke your function whenever a platform event is received by the function. Basically, event-driven architecture you can implement using that. And if you want, you can also call it from Lightning Web Components or Apex. So pretty much a lot of flexibility coming onto the platform in terms of the languages that you can use and the serverless runtime. Basically, that's powerful because you're not bound by a server. It can scale how much ever you need it to. Now, this is a typical setup of how your architecture might look like once you deploy Salesforce functions. So this is your function code. It has access to all of your Salesforce data because in the end, it's all the same platform in which it is running. And then you can invoke it from any of these native invocation methods. So a function, a Node.js code being able to be triggered from a change data capture event or a flow is quite powerful. And there are n number of use cases that you can imagine that you can do. And of course, because it is just plain old code, you can integrate with any other additional HTTP services, integrate with third-party systems, integrate with other databases. It's totally up to you how much ever you want to work on. Now, I mentioned a lot of use cases come to mind, but these are some of the few, to name a few basically. Any heavy calculations that take a lot of time, that require a lot of computing power, can be offloaded from the Salesforce platform onto the serverless runtime using functions. And things like image processing, file processing, all of those, you can write a function for those. So in the keynote, we showed a demo where you upload a PDF, and then we want to add a watermark on that PDF. Now, that is something that you can't do on Salesforce. But there are a bunch of libraries available in Node.js that let you do that in 2 or 3 lines of code. For example, PDF generation. It was there in Visualforce, but you can't no longer generate PDFs using Lightning Web Components. So what if you want to generate a PDF from a template? Right now you have n number of workarounds, but again, like Node.js has a bunch of libraries that can do this. You can actually write all of this in Node.js and call it from wherever you want, and it gets done. So a lot more power, a lot more flexibility coming soon. To take a very quick look at how the function might look in its current state, by the way, whatever I'm showing you, again, nothing is generally available, nothing is in beta, nothing is set in stone. So whatever access I have to the current version, I'm going to show it just so that you get a feel of how different or how similar it is from a developer standpoint. So I am right now in my Node SFDX project. All of you should be able to recognize this. We have the SFDX project JSON. We have Force app main default, classes, bundles, all of it. It's the same project. But now what I can do is I can run a command. Again, this command and all is subject to change. But what you can write is, I mean, even today to create a Lightning Web Component, you're writing an SFDX command, or you're invoking it from the command palette. In the end, it runs an SFDX command. So the same thing here, you run an SFDX command right from within your project to create a function. Here I'm giving the function the name of demo query 7. And the language I'm saying is JavaScript. Right now in the version that I have access to, the 2 supported versions are JavaScript and TypeScript. You can select either of those and you hit enter. So basically what this does is very similar to how when you run an LWC, it creates an application, an LWC bundle. So it creates a folder, it has 2 or 3 files within that. So very similarly, once this command finishes, it's going to create a new bundle for your function. So demo query 7 is just created. So this bundle is going to have all of the code for your function. And this is Node.js folder structure. So right within your Salesforce environment, that is your Salesforce project, you also have a Node.js project that is embedded into this. Those of you who are not familiar with Node.js, it's fine, but I would encourage all of you to start going and learning this, because once functions rolls out, it's going to be quite flexible to build a lot of awesome apps with this. So typically, most Node.js projects come with a package.json, which has all the dependencies that you need for that project. And then you have an index.js file. So this is the file that stores your function in JavaScript, again, Node.js code. So you import certain modules that are required. This is imported by default, the Salesforce SDK. And then this is your function code. If you notice, it looks very, very much similar to your LWC functions, because in the end, it is web standards. A JavaScript function is going to look the same whether you write it in Node.js or web components or wherever it is. So this takes in 3 arguments: the event, the context, and logger. So typically, event says how your function was invoked. whether it was invoked with parameters, what is the data that we supplied as an input, all of that is going to be in event. The context is going to hold any connection to Salesforce. So like you see, in line number 18, I'm writing a simple query to connect to Salesforce and retrieve some results. So select ID from account. But here you'll notice I haven't integrated with Salesforce, I haven't done anything. I mean, just like in Apex, you write your query without having to worry about connecting to Salesforce, fetching the data. Here also, just write a query as you want. The results will be retrieved, and you can use those results wherever you want. So the context is going to hold that Salesforce data, if you will. And finally, logger. I mean, you use console.log to log outputs in JavaScript. You use system.debug in Apex. Very similarly, in Node.js, you have logger.info, logger.error, logger.one, and all of that. So you write this function, then you can test this function locally, and then you can deploy it to Salesforce, again using SFDX commands. So the end user experience or the developer experience that we are trying to provide is very seamless. Whether you want to create an Apex class to do something, or you want to create a Salesforce function, it is the same interface, the same command line tools. It is up to you to decide where you want to create it. So that is the level of integration we are trying to achieve with functions. So that was a very tiny demo, at least whatever I'm authorized to give out. Any questions on functions? Okay, do we need to provision any infrastructure or need to manage any technology or overhead? Nothing of that sort. It's a Salesforce release. So Salesforce generally, as you know, we take care of all the heavy lifting. So you need not worry all of that. Like I showed you as a developer, run that command, create a function, then deploy it, and then call it from Apex, call it from Process Builder. Nothing else you need to worry about. Theory, again, questions about governor limits and all of those, we are yet to come out with more details. Like I said, this is just an initial product offering, and we're with a very limited pilot of customers who are testing this out. So things like governor limits and all of those, we will let you know soon. As Node.js can be used for Salesforce Commerce and Salesforce CMS development. I haven't used both of those, to be very frank. I haven't used Commerce Cloud till now. But I do think this is the first time we are coming out with Node.js as something that you can work on Salesforce. Until now, I mean, if you had to write Node.js, you had to deploy it on Heroku. But now you can do it here. I mean, in the backend, we might be using Heroku infrastructure. Like I mentioned, for Salesforce Anywhere, the backend might be Quip. For Salesforce functions, the backend might be Heroku. But irrespective of all of that, the end user experience or the developer experience is always consistent. Heroku retirement in the future? No, not at all. It is just a way of bringing both the platforms together. You know, Heroku is also a Salesforce product, right? So that has its own fan base, that has its own advantages. We are trying to integrate all of them tightly together so that you can take the power of the platform as a service offering of Heroku and then use it in the context of Salesforce to make things more powerful. Yeah, so don't worry, Heroku is not going anywhere. You can still continue to use that. So that was about the highlights from the main show or the keynote. Again, if I was not able to answer any questions, it means I don't have the answers or I'm not authorized to give out the answers. So stay tuned for more details. Again, to reiterate, whenever we are moving closer to the launch, my team will come up with a lot of content around it. I mean, all of you are in the APAC region, so you must be knowing what we do. We deliver a lot of webinars, we do a lot of Trailhead live sessions in the time zone that is comfortable to APAC, that is. And then we also write a lot of blog posts. So expect all of that to come out more closer to the launch. All of the questions that you have asked us, we have noted it down. And we'll try to address as many of those during our webinars or any other sessions that we might have. So stay tuned. That is why I asked you to follow me on Twitter. If you're doing any such webinar, you'll definitely get to know through that. Now coming to the session highlights, here are some of the things that you can see. You can start using it right now. So none of it is so forward looking. You can actually try your hands on it. The first one is dynamic forms and actions. So this is one of the most requested feature on Idea Exchange, and we have delivered it. And this is available to you on your Summer 20 orgs for you to start trying it out. Basically, what this does is it breaks down your page layouts into individual fields, and those can be dragged and dropped anywhere onto the layout. So that is why we call it dynamic forms. I think it is better if you see a demo of it. So this is my Salesforce org running on Summer 20. And let me go to the app builder. Basically, for now, again, this is available only for custom objects going by the documentation. Standard object support, maybe we'll be rolling it out soon. But what you can do is you can go and click on edit on any of the record pages. And the moment it loads, we will look at it. Again, my internet might be a little bad. So if I drop off in between, just stay tuned. I'll rejoin through hotspot and all. Okay. Yeah, finally something is appearing. Okay, so the same record detail page, whatever it is you have customized, you can let it be. But basically, this is the detail component. So when you click on the detail component, what you're going to see on the right-hand side is an upgrade now wizard. So you click that upgrade now wizard, and it's going to take you through a couple of steps. Again, pretty intuitive. You need not worry too much about that. But then what it's going to do once you complete that wizard is it's going to break down your fields into components. So what you can see now is each field in my layout behaves as though it is an individual component, which I can then drag and drop anywhere I want. And not just that, once I select a field, I have access to the same app builder filters that I can put. So if I want this field, so let's say the prerequisites, if I want to show the prerequisites only if the type of session equals workshop, you can add that filter. So that is why we are calling it dynamic. And the way it works is during the runtime, the filter gets applied. The moment you change the value, the field shows up. So that is the dynamic nature of it. The same concept is for the actions on the top. So any action that you put here can be dynamic as well, depending on whatever are the filters that you define for that. Now you have broken down your page into the individual fields. What you also get is a fields tab. So similar to your components tab in the app builder, there is a fields tab. Again, all of the fields on your object, drag and drop them wherever you want. So in case you want to drag and drop it into a new place, like here, just drag the field section and put the abstract and put last modified by. Basically, a lot of flexibility when it comes to the fields on how you want to do it. And you have the UI behavior right here. So in case you want the field to be read-only required or none of it, you can set it right from within the app builder. So that is dynamic forms and actions. Again, go to your Summer 20 orgs, enable it, and try it out. And of course, let us know the feedback so that we can help you with that. Okay. Good question. Dynamic forms we used in communities. I'll have to get back to you. Most likely it is the app builder. I will have to try it out. I don't have the answer to that. How do dynamic forms work along with page layouts? I mean, both of them can still live side by side to each other. You can have the individual field dragged and dropped, but still use the record detail page wherever it is that you want. So typically, it is up to your use case. How do you want it to look like? I mean, you can remove 90% of the fields from your detail page and have the bare minimum, and have all the other fields appear based on different stages of the life cycle of the record, or have them appear in different places on the page, up to you. Is record page of Lightning and page load will be synced after changes in app builder? Not really, because when you migrate it, we are only going to break it down so that you don't have to drag and drop all the fields again. But once we split it into fields, if you make any changes to the layout, it necessarily doesn't impact this, because this is no longer a page layout. This is a section on your app builder, because I can actually remove this altogether, and I can have a field section, and I can only put 2 or 3 fields here. So really, a page layout no longer exists apart from the context of your detail component. So I don't think changes are going to be reflected vice versa and stuff. But if you add a new field to your object, it is going to come into this list that you can use. Related list, no, not really. It is dynamic fields only for now. And yeah, I think any more questions, leave it on the chat window and I'll take a look. One important change is because of this dynamic forms, all of your metadata for Flexi page is going to change starting summer 20, which is already passed. Starting Monday, this would have changed. So basically what happens is previously in summer 20, you only had the component instance within the Flexi page region. But now your component instance is further wrapped inside an item instances tag. And if you're using a version control system as a source of truth, and you want to update your components to use version 49, then you'll have to make this change. Because if you leave it as it is and convert it to version 49 and try to deploy it, it will fail because it no longer recognizes the structure with the recent changes. So make sure if you're trying to deploy, if you're trying to upgrade your projects and you're trying to deploy, make sure you make this change in the Flexi page metadata. Now, what's new with flows? Flows also, we have kept improving it for quite some time. I mean, the last time I knew about flows, it was with that classic Cloudflow designer, with that Flash-based plugin and stuff. So I never really found it interesting. But since like 2 years, we made a lot of major updates to flows. And now we have a beautiful little UI for that. And the functionality of flows itself is growing a lot. So now you can trigger flows on record changes. So similar to how your process builder gets invoked whenever a record changes, you can trigger flows also on record changes. And with the flows, you can also define whether you want to run before save or after save. Just like your triggers run before insert and after insert, you can trigger flows before and after save. And you can also trigger flows on platform events, and you can trigger them on a schedule. So typically, whatever you were limited with the process builder, you now have flows being able to do the same things. And then you have these multi-column screens, which we are rolling out soon. So whenever you drag and drop a screen component inside a flow, you could only use 1 column until now. But going forward, we are planning to add up to 12 columns. I mean, you have the ability to decide how many columns you want to add to a screen, and that is up to 12. So those are 2 major changes. And because now process builder and flow builder overlap in quite a few use cases, you might have the question when to decide between a process builder and a flow builder. So for that, in some use cases, when we were testing it out, what we found is process builder is up to 10 times faster than flow builder. Flow builder is up to 10 times faster than process builder when it comes to certain use cases. Again, a lot of testing. Please do a lot of testing to find out which tool fits better. But what we have also done, I don't know how many of you have checked out the architects blog that we have. But on the architects blog, I think I'll show it to you in a demo when we come to the architect track. But there we also launched something called as architect decision guides. And those are helpful handy little resources to actually tell you which feature to use when, I mean, which feature was built for what purpose. And given a scenario, what is the decision that you'll have to take from one tool versus the other, one approach versus the other. So Architect Guides is a handy little resource that we launched on the Salesforce Architects blog. So definitely check that out as well. But let's wrap up this admin part first. We also launched automation components when it comes to flows. Um, so we are, like I said, we are enhancing flows a lot, and we want to make it easier for you to build flows. So for which what we have done is last release or 2 releases ago, we launched something called as flow templates. So flow templates are these things that you can download from App Exchange, which is going to create a pre-built flow for you. So you won't be starting with a blank canvas. Once you use that template, a pre-built flow with all the different components is created. You can just point and click and change some configuration. And then your flow is built in no time. Now, if you want to build a custom flow and there is no template for it, we have also introduced automation components, which is a collection of flow components that you can just download and use, again, for free. So for that, go to the sample gallery. So search for sample gallery Trailhead and you'll be taken to this link. If you haven't seen the sample gallery before, I think it is one of the best resources available out there that shows you what are the awesome things that you can build using Salesforce. And all of the code is open source. My team built all these components. We maintain these components on a regular basis. We have n number of applications, and these are going to show you how you can work with different features of Salesforce. For example, eBikes is going to show you how you can use Lightning Web Components, Salesforce communities, how you can use drag and drop. All of that is built in right here. And all of the code is available on GitHub for you to view, copy, paste, use any way that you want. So there are a ton of different apps. Recipes, I think all of you know about it. That is how we have been talking about Lightning Web Components. A bunch of different apps, scroll down, and here you have the automation components. Now click on view on GitHub, and you'll be taken to the GitHub repo with all of the different components that are available. So the README file is going to list down all the installation instructions. Again, it is free, just click install. The package is going to get installed on your org. Now to take a look at all the components that we have making it available, click on the components reference. It's going to take you to this page, and on the right-hand side, you can see all the pre-built components that we are offering as a part of automation. So whether you want to execute a SQL query, you want to pick a flow from a list of flows, or you want to generate a link, unique link for that flow so that people, when they click on it, the flow directly launches. You can post rich text on Chatter. How do you lock a record while the flow is in progress? How do you convert a list into CSV? So all of these, I mean, you can do it from scratch, but because we are giving it out as a component, a lot of time is saved. So take a look at this, a pretty useful resource. Let all of your team members know that there is something like this available so that you can build flows faster. Okay. Questions. What is the significance of addition of item instances on Flexi page? I mean, previously we called it component instance, which means only components can be added, but now we are calling it item instances so that it can hold both fields and components. So that is why we've added that new XML tag. Technical questions, please take it to the forum. I mean, any workarounds, all of that, take it to the developer forums. I think you'll get better answers there. A trigger on platform event similar to serverless functions. So yeah, I mean, whenever a platform event is triggered, you can either invoke a process builder process. Now you can invoke flows, you can invoke functions. Basically, any tool in Salesforce can be integrated with every other tool, kind of an approach it is. We call this as event-driven architecture. Typically, you fire an event, something else gets involved. So to help you with that event-driven architecture, we are enabling most of our things to be triggered by events. Is there any plan to deprecate Process Builder? I don't really think so. Process Builder still has its own workflows and all of that. In the near future, at least, no. We are not going to deprecate Process Builder. Won't this trigger affect governor limit and CPU time? I mean, which trigger? Flow trigger. All of your limits are still going to apply. Just because you're using flows, I don't think we'll relax any limits. With flows, how do we create custom flow templates? You can create them in the org itself. You create a flow, you save it as a template. You can download existing templates, or if you're interested to contribute a template, create one on your org and post it on App Exchange. Do we have any documentation on calling a flow from another flow? I think one other thing that I wanted to show you here is, along with the documentation, you have this community site called Unofficial SF. And that also has a lot of resources you need for automation. It is a community maintained site. And I think to answer your question, ability to call one flow from the other, you can actually do it with launching an auto launch flow component, where again, there is this whole architecture that is built out. I gave a talk at TDX India about the same concept, where how you can couple flows together, how you can do a loosely coupled flows versus tightly coupled flows. Instead of embedding a hyperlink within the flow and having users to click it, that is tight coupling. But loose coupling can involve event-driven architecture. So once the flow is complete, you trigger an event. And when that event is received, another flow gets triggered. So that is how you can actually build out your components, tightly coupled, loosely coupled, a lot of it. Okay, I think Fanindra is one person who's answering a lot of questions. Thank you. Thank you for that. Documentation, I answered that. There is a subflow element which you can launch, some other flow. Yes, how do the new tools fit within the larger Lightning platform? I think everything is tied back to the same Lightning platform. They all fit into the platform, yeah. So, yep. Now, moving on to the architect sessions that we had. We launched the Customer 360 guides. So this is a great new addition for all the architects and members working on pre-sales. Primarily because we have built these guidebooks or guides or whatever you call it based on successful Trailblazer stories. So if you take an example, let's say B2C, that is the first guidebook that we launched, B2C. If you take any B2C customer, most of the use cases they are going to have is going to be similar. So you need to have a public-facing website, it needs to have a shopping cart, then you need to have an order management system built in, and all of those things. So since many customers have the same problems and they would have addressed it in different ways, we put all of them together in one guide, and we are calling it a Customer 360 guide. And this has all the customer stories, it has industry blueprints. So typically, if you go to a B2C customer, even before going to them, you can refer to this guide to know what are the most common pain points that they have and how you can address them using Salesforce. So for a given pain point, let's say if as a user, I add something to my shopping cart and I forget about it. I am expecting an email. I mean, I'm expecting it, but in order to retain that customer, you need to send them an email saying that, oh, you left something in your shopping cart. Do you want to buy it out? So that way you're going to increase your sales. So that is a pain point, and that is an expected solution by every B2C customer. And for that, you might have to use Marketing Cloud, you might have to use Pardot. There are different solutions. All of those are neatly documented in Customer 360 guides. You have these reference architectures, solution architectures, which actually dive deep into what parts of Salesforce can be used, what is your integration architecture going to look like, what are the different components that are involved, all of it. And this is available for free, again, right from today. I mean, it was available always, but from today you can continue to access it. Go to trailhead.salesforce.com/guides. So you go there, it launches this page. For now, we have one guide, the first guide that we built out, and we are expecting your votes and all of it to come up with more guides in the future. So this is the tile. Just click on Get Started. We are going to take you to this page, which shows you everything you need to know about how you can transform a consumer experience. So like I mentioned, demos, guides, then how do you start your transformation, customer 360 stories. Then there is a path that you follow. You get started, you assess your needs. So here is the industry blueprint. I mean, you can of course click on that link, but this is a retail blueprint. What do you have? Awareness, advocacy, service. This architecture, some thoughts that you might not have, you can trigger those thoughts using this. And retail reference architecture using Salesforce. You use Commerce Cloud, you use community, sales, service. How all of it is going to tie back together. You have that. And you map your goals. You say, what is your goal? What is it that you're trying to achieve? Are you trying to engage shoppers on every channel? Or are you trying to create an amazing experience? Or you're trying to create a seamless digital experience? You define your goal. I mean, you can present all of these as options to your clients. They will decide the goal. You click on it, you'll be taken to a help article, which again lists down all the different options that you have in Salesforce to help them meet that goal. So pretty powerful customer 360 guides. I encourage all of you to start looking at it. I mean, whether you're a developer, admin, or an architect, I think looking at this, of course, broadens our horizon and teaches us new things. So look at it. The next one, the next session, the session which I personally found to be very interesting and helpful is the session on architectural patterns for data privacy. Basically, the session first spoke about what are the general data privacy patterns that we are noticing. So any system that you take, as an end user, I must know what data of mine have you stored in your system. And I should be able to download all of that data at once. And then if I have multiple systems that are connected with one another, so let's say you have Salesforce, and then you have Marketing Cloud. And a user calls you up and says, okay, I don't want to receive any emails. And then you say, okay, this user doesn't want to receive, you uncheck a checkbox on Salesforce. But are you communicating the same change to Marketing Cloud? Are you letting Marketing Cloud know that this person has unchecked this? So that is the level of orchestration you need to do. Of course, with Marketing Cloud, because things are integrated with Salesforce, things get copied over easily. But if you're using a third-party tool like MailChimp, are you communicating this change to MailChimp or not? That is important. And you have to document the activity. This is very important because you just can't collect a user's email address without giving them explanation as to why. And you need to also store that in the system saying, if you captured an email address of the user, you need to capture when you have captured it, why, for what purpose, for how long are you going to store it. And finally, of course, you'll have to discover all personal information. It ties back to empowering individuals. You as a developer, admin, architect, you need to know where all of the personal information of a user is stored in Salesforce. Typically, it is going to be in the contact, lead, and user object. But what we have done is, in order to help you better manage privacy and governance concerns, we have created this huge data model for you, where everything ties back to one single individual person that you store it in an individual object. And then you manage their consent in all of these different records. So for example, data purpose. Why I want to use that data? Capture it in this object, relate it to the consent record, and then map it back to the individual. So this is a high-level mapping of privacy and governance data objects. But to make it easier for you to work with these objects, what we have launched is the consent capture app on App Exchange. This is by Salesforce Labs, so it is free to use and download. So this app is going to give you flow templates that will help you manage these consent records. And it gives you a UI layer. So if we want to take a look at it, I've downloaded and installed that app on one of my orgs. So if I go to the contacts and let me pick a contact. So I've placed this consent capture on the contact detail page. And the reason is, whenever I'm on a contact, I want to ensure I have access. I know why I have captured the email address, why I have captured the phone number. So here, right now, no individual object is created for this record. No consent is captured. So I can just click next, and I can follow the wizard in order to create all of this for me. I can say I want to take consent for sending emails, and I have, yeah, it is the email address for which I'm taking the consent. And I want this to be valid for 20 months, and the user has opted in. The user knows that they're going to receive this email. And how did they acquire the consent? Maybe they gave me a phone call. Um, and I select that option and just click finish. So it is as simple as that. And the moment you capture that consent and you come back to this page, what you can see is you look at the detail page and you say, oh, okay, I have consent to send emails. And if you expand it, you see, oh, I can send them emails only for marketing stuff. I cannot send them any other emails. So that's the kind of consent. It is a very, very high level overview that I gave. This concept itself needs a larger session to talk about. But yes, make use of this app to capture consent better. Of course, we are providing flow templates for all of these. In case you want to automate, you know all of these objects. You can write triggers, whatever it is, to automate. Now, the other thing that we are providing is Salesforce data mask, and privacy comes also into play when you're working with sandboxes. So your production is going to have live customer data. But whenever you refresh a sandbox, particularly the partial copy or full copy sandbox, the data also gets copied over. And except for the user object, I think any data that you store in the custom object, email addresses, they're going to come in as it is, and which might cause a problem. And you're not supposed to actually have live data on sandboxes. So as a best practice, you can use this data mask, which is again a downloadable package that can actually mask all of the data in a sandbox. So once you have refreshed it, you can go to the data mask and say, remove all the phone numbers or mask the email addresses. So you can convert an original email address into a dummy email address. First name, last name, again, you can convert them into dummy values. So all of that is possible with data mask, which is also generally available. Just download and use it. So both of these tools, the Salesforce data mask for sandboxes and the consent capture app, can help you speed up the process of rolling out privacy related features onto Salesforce. And finally, coming out soon, pilot in August 20, it is just pilot. So everything is subject to change. We are launching this data privacy manager. So when I spoke about consent, I told you once you capture the user's consent saying, I can only use their data for 2 months, then I'll have to delete that data. So right now, if you'll have to do that, you'll have to write a custom code, maybe call a scheduled class, or right now, because triggers can be invoked on a schedule, you can invoke a flow. Flow can be invoked on a schedule. You can invoke a flow and say, delete all of these email addresses after some time. But with data privacy manager, we are trying to automate all of that. You can define something called as a data retention policy, so that you can define using point and click, saying delete this data after this time. The privacy manager takes care of it. Data subject access request policy. Basically, this allows the user to download all of their data in one go. How it can be done and all of that, there are demos out there on the TrailheaDX website. Take a look at that. And consent event stream. So similar to how any change that you make in Salesforce records, if you enable change data capture, how events are sent out to all the other broader systems, consent event stream is going to leverage the same event bus in order to send out consent related events. So all of the things about privacy we are packaging into one product, which is going to come out soon. More details will come out as we move closer to generally availability. But yeah, privacy is a huge concern for all the users with all of these laws like GDPR and all coming out. But we are trying to make it easier using all of these different offerings. I spoke a lot. Let me take questions. There is a subflow element which you can use to call some other flow. Yes, subflow is there. There is a great talk actually that Alex delivered in Dreamforce, which I replicated in TDX, which talks about the exact same thing. Whenever you're calling subflows, we call it to be loose coupling or tight coupling. Loose is whenever it is event driven and all of that. So take a look. There are multiple architectures. The platform is, oh, that is what you meant. Quite large with millions of users, thousands of classes. Just curious about the way Flow is growing. It's amazing what you can achieve with point and click. Yeah, typically flows, like I said, like 2 years ago, I wasn't a huge fan of flows for the very reason that if I wanted to run the flow on a list of objects, the flow used to run once per record in the list of objects it received, in which case it was not truly scalable, and a trigger was a better way to go about it. So like I said, look at the architect descriptions. Because even though flow is powerful, but if you're dealing with bulk record operations at once, you will definitely have to think about scalability and how the flow is running. Is it running once per record in a list of records? Or is it sending all the 200 records to the element at once? So that is something that you need to look at and then see how long it is taking for that flow to run. And if you write a trigger that can run like 200 times faster than what a flow is doing, then definitely yes, trigger is a good option. So it's very important to note, even though we advocate point and click a lot, it is important that you remember the clear difference between when to use which tool, and that is where the architect plays a major role. Here is the link to download flow templates available inside this package. Thank you for sharing that link. What is the significance of data privacy manager? Yeah, it is for you to manage these privacy regulations. So I showed you an initial flow chart right here, not a flow chart, but the circle. So to help you manage all of these patterns, we are launching this product. So right now, in order for you to manage these patterns, you need to write custom code. Like I said, whenever you say the user has opted in inside Salesforce, how are you letting the external system know about it? Right now, you might have to maybe write a trigger. You might have to trigger a flow, or you might have to enable change data capture on that record. But with this tool, we are trying to automate all of that. You don't have to do anything. You just say, whenever this happens, send a consent event. So it automatically happens. It's a tool in the end to help you do stuff more easily. So again, I know it is a lot to take in, a lot of features that are being rolled out, but the intention of this global gathering is to let you know at a very high level what are the launches, so that in case you come up across a requirement, it will just strike you saying, oh, I heard there was something like this, let me do more research on it. So that is the level we are trying to get to with this global gathering. It is not a workshop or anything where we give a deep dive. So my apologies if something was at a very high level. Coming to the developer sessions, we have launched the safe navigation operator. Again, it is going to come soon. And the only purpose of safe navigation operator is for you to write lesser code. So if you take the example on the screen right now, foo.bar.size, if you just write this statement, and if either foo or bar is null, you're going to get an exception saying attempt to dereference a null object. But for that, I mean, there is definitely a workaround currently. It is not a workaround, it is the way you do it. You write if foo not equal to null and bar not equal to null, then foo.bar.size. But instead of you having to write that if statement, you can just put a question mark before the dot. So that is why this is called the safe navigation operator question mark dot. You put a question mark, and what it does is it evaluates the string that is on the left. If it is not equal to null, then it goes to the right and executes that part. So that is one way in which you can write lesser code for the same thing. I mean, it's a huge improvement in terms of code readability and stuff. But I don't think it is something that you need to wait for in order to implement, write any new logic. You still can write your null conditions. If this comes out, you make the change if you want to, or if not, you can leave your previous code the way it is. I mean, the thumb rule of writing code is if something works, don't touch it. So I'll follow that actively. When it comes to API updates, so there have been quite a few updates we are rolling out onto APIs. I don't know how many of you explored the composite API that we have launched quite some time ago. Basically, the composite API allows you to send multiple requests at once. So let's say you want to create an account and then you want to create a contact and then you want to query some other record. So ideally you would have to send 3 requests to Salesforce, which would consume 3 API calls. But with the composite API, you can bundle these 3 requests together and send it as a single request. And you'll get the result back for all of the three sub requests that you have sent. So composite API is a great way to bundle multiple requests together and send it out and get all the response at once. And you'll be only consuming 1 API call for that. Now, that was something that we did to help you lessen your API calls. But now, what we are also doing is we are rolling out this new usage-based entitlement, which means in case you exceed that daily API limit that you have, we are not actually going to prevent you from making any more API calls. So you can still continue making API calls even though you have breached the limit. But you're going to get better visibility into consumption and all of that. So the pricing model and all of that will more details you can talk to your account executive. But yeah, this is a good update because I know personally of many companies who were spending a lot of time looking at all of their integrations because they were exceeding this daily API limit, and it was actually abruptly stopping all of their integrations. But now they will continue the way it is. We are also launching Bulk API 2.0. The reason we call it 2.0 is we are handling and optimizing locking errors. So in case you are trying to update 2 records, which in turn update a single parent record, you might run into locking issues. And Bulk API 2.0 automatically resolves all of those. And there is an increase in limits and stuff. And finally, when it comes to SOQL, a new pilot version of it only for APIs. We are launching this SOQL fields function. So in case you want to hit the query endpoint of Salesforce and pass an SOQL query, you can do so even right now. But imagine your custom object has like 1,000 fields, and each field has like 20 or 30 characters of length. So your SOQL string itself exceeds whatever is the limit that a parameter must contain. So in such cases, you can use a fields function, and the fields is going to take in a limited set of arguments. So it is only going to take in all or custom or standard. So you just say select fields of custom from so-and-so object. And what it's going to do is it's going to return a list of all the custom fields. I mean, not a list, but all the custom fields are going to be retrieved and sent to you. That way, you can still continue to write whatever logic that you want, but you'll be reducing the length of the string that you send to the API using the new fields function. So those are a few updates. I mean, it was a 20-minute long session. I would encourage all of you to go and check it out, but pretty useful. Okay. Yeah, the extra edition, of course, it's an extra charge. We call it usage-based entitlement. I mean, cloud computing as such is works on a similar paradigm, right? So pay-as-you-go kind of model. So it helps you with that. So the next session we had is about Einstein. Coming from a developer standpoint, all of you know about the Einstein APIs, but what is new here is the Einstein OCR, which is generally available. And with Einstein OCR, you can submit an image to the endpoint, and it's going to detect all of the text within that image. So that is the capability of OCR. And one important thing is for you to test out these Einstein Vision APIs and all, you need not write code, because you can just install this package called Einstein Vision and Language Model Builder. This I can definitely paste a link. So this one. So this is the link with which you can download a package which gives you a UI in order to test out Einstein APIs. So let's look at that. I think it is there in this. So again, it is free. Make use of it as much as possible. I think AppExchange is a great place to find all of these resources. So I've installed the Einstein Playground, which created the Einstein Playground app. Search for it. And then once you launch, what you can see is all the Einstein APIs that are around. There is a playground that is available for all of those. So whether it is image classification or object detection, so there is a way in which you can build a model using clicks, or you can test it out. Now, when it comes to OCR, there is a new tab that is added. And in OCR, you can either detect text, or you can detect a contact, which means you can read a visiting card, or you can detect text from a table of content. So a great way to explore what the API is also capable of. So let's just select contact, and you can either give the image a URL or upload a file. So let's upload a file. Hopefully, I don't know, desktop. Yeah, code is ID card. So it has a bunch of details: name, date of birth, address, and stuff. So once you upload, this playground is also going to fire the API and is going to return the results. So this is the formatted result to show where all it has found text and what it was able to detect. Now, if you go to the raw response, you can actually see whatever is the text that has been read from the image, what is the probability, what is the bounding box. That means what is the rectangle area from where it has read that text. So this is a great way to explore the API, but this package is also going to give you the necessary wrapper classes. So now, for example, you are impressed with this and you want to start writing Apex code for it. You need not struggle a lot to send out HTTP requests, manage authentication, all of that stuff you need not write from scratch. This package is also going to give you the necessary wrapper classes. And here it is. So this is a simple class that I've written, and which has a method called make OCR call. Some basic parameters: the image URL, what is the model ID, the task is contact table or text, the drop down which you have seen. And here only 2 lines of code. You initialize the Einstein service wrapper, and then you say prediction result is equal to Einstein service.predict, and you pass in all the parameters. And then you get the response. All of it is deserialized for you into this wrapper class. Just find the relevant content that you want and debug the information. So I've already run this in my previous session, so I can just show you the same output. Oh, okay, I can't show you the same output. No problem, let us run it again. So yeah, this thing has run, and we'll open the log. It's taking forever to open the log also. Yeah, so basically this is just to show that demo in action. You click debug only, and then you can see whatever system.debug statements that I've put here, where I'm saying license card.get person, get first name, get last name. I'm able to read all of that. Cody Bear, address is in San Francisco, height 8'6". Or wait, I interchanged it in debug. Yeah, instead of weight, I put height, so my bad. But yeah, it detects everything perfectly. So two things for showing this. First thing is OCR is GA. Second thing is use this App Exchange product in order to fast track your implementation. Now, finally coming to developer productivity with modern tooling, we have launched Code Builder, of course, for developer productivity. The other thing we also launched is local development with mobile, with iOS and Android emulators. So I don't know how many of you already know about local development. In my previous session, not a lot of people seem to know about it. So what you can do is in your instance, in your typical SFDX project, you can hit Command Shift P and you can start the local development server, which is going to create a local runtime on your own machine so that you can test out your Lightning Web components without having to deploy them to the org. So that way your development is much faster. So once I click on that Start Local Development Server, it is going to open up this page, which is running on localhost, if you can see. And then all of your web components in the project is right here. So if you go to, let's say, hello binding, this is a local version of the component, which means it's the same thing. The component loads locally. And in case you want to view the code, you can just click on View in VS Code, and it directly opens up the code in VS Code. So the same component, same LWC, it continues to work the same way. So this way, your local development gets much faster. So I can go here, I can open hello binding.html, and I can make a few changes here, and I save. So with local development, what we also do is hot reload, which means the moment you save a change locally, we automatically update, meaning that we refresh the page in order to show the updated version of the component. My system is a little slow, so it's taking time. Otherwise, it is quite fast. So you'll see it is already appearing here. So I can use my local development server for rapid prototyping. And whenever necessary, I think the component looks good, then I can deploy it to Salesforce. Now, one question you might have is, what about data? So for data, we are going to use the connected org. So every SFDX project is going to have a default org attached to it. So for local development, we connect to the default org to fetch the relevant data that you might need in your component. But the sole purpose of this is build components locally, test it out, and then deploy it to Salesforce. As a part of that, we have launched this new thing. I mean, that was one way in which you could do local development. The other way is you can right-click on a component and say preview component locally. It also does the same thing. But now it's going to ask you for two additional options. Previously, only desktop was available, but now you can use your Android or iOS emulators. But one prerequisite for both of these is that you must have the relevant SDKs downloaded. So if you have the Android SDK and the Android emulators installed, only then you'll be able to preview, which definitely means you need iOS emulators for which you need to have a Mac. Without Mac, I don't think you can download Xcode and all of that. But yeah, it is a great enhancement in case you're looking to build components for mobile and you want to preview it on an actual mobile emulator. So that is local development. Again, in case somebody of you would have not seen local development, that was a short demo. And yeah, I think I'm pretty much done with the content that I wanted to share. I am open to questions that you might have. I'm more than happy to answer. Is it working offline? So yes, you can launch the local development server offline. I mean, you can to launch it, you need to have internet because it needs to connect to the org and maintain that connection. But in order to build components that don't require Salesforce data, you can do them offline. For Salesforce data, you need to maintain that connection. Again, this is a beta developer preview, developer beta that is going on. We are, again, looking at feedback. And of course, we got this feedback saying we need offline. So we are looking at ways in which once we retrieve the data, you can cache it locally, or we are looking at ways in which you can use a local file like a JSON file in order to supply data to your component. We are working out a lot of options, but true local development is going to come soon. But for now, assume you need to have local for local development. Having an internet connection is good. Um, how about front-end frameworks like React.js, Vue.js can be used for Salesforce? Again, commerce and CMS, I haven't worked on it a lot. Lightning Web Components is definitely the same. I don't see any reason why React or Vue have to be used because LWC is very much a similar framework, but it is more lightweight and more integrated with Salesforce, more secure with locker services and stuff. So that was at a high level updates from TDX. Any more questions? Manish, you can take it over, I think.
Yeah, thanks, Aditya. I think it was a great session. Yeah. Uh, Thanks for covering a lot of topics. I think it was a lot
Yeah,
of information for everyone. Uh,
yeah.
Good to know. Good to have an idea of everything. Uh, so for the quiz, right? So you'll be launching it, right?
Yeah, you want me to start the quiz? Because we
Yeah.
can do
So
that.
you can just give a brief on what the quiz type would be. So it would be multiple choice questions. So we'll pick the top 6 ones,
Top
or
six.
is it
The quiz only shows top five. Top six, maybe you can
okay?
give it out on some other basis.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so for the quiz, we are going to use Salesforce itself. I don't know how many of you used Kahoot quizzes before. Um, we have built something very similar on Salesforce, and it is built by one of my colleagues, Philip. And again, the code is available publicly on GitHub. You can actually download this and install it on any of your Salesforce instances and Heroku instances. Basically, it is just like Kahoot. On my screen, you're going to be seeing a question with 4 options. We have updated it, but didn't update the screenshot. But on your screen also, on the phone or desktop, wherever you access it from, you will see the same things. It's going to be multiple choice. Depending on whatever is the correct answer, tap on it. You want to have a maximum of 20 seconds to answer. And you're also going to need a strong internet connection because this thing heavily relies on internet. If your internet breaks in between and your answer is not submitted or you haven't submitted the answer in time, we are not responsible. We'll keep showing the leaderboard in between, but just so you know, the architecture of the app, it is built on Salesforce using Lightning Web Components. And the player version of it is installed on Heroku, again with Lightning Web Components open source. All of the installation instructions present here, you can install this on a Scratch or Developer Edition org, and Heroku is free. So you can use this app for free, basically, to run any of your quizzes. And let me do a quick tech check. Last time this thing broke. Oh, not this. Okay. Yeah, it works. Okay, so I'll refresh the page. Basically, this is the Salesforce part of it. You have the host app that I'll be running. Once the page refreshes, you'll be shown a QR code along with a short link to join the quiz. Please join the quiz and we'll get started. So this is the URL, this is the short code. Join it and I will wait for you people. I'll give it like roughly 2 minutes.
Yeah, you can also
There are
join
80.
using the link.
Yeah, you can also join using the link. It is not mandatory to join desktop. I'm posting the link as well in Google Chat. So 85 people, 20 joined. So we'll wait for at least 60 people to join. Now the problem is once I start the quiz, you won't be able to join. So make sure you enroll before I start.
$48, $49, $50. Great.
Yeah, so if you're interested in to take a look at how this page is automatically refreshing every time a new player gets added, take a look at the code. We are using change data capture. We are using EMP API. We are using chart.js. We are using a lot of things. A great place to see LWC in live action.
$72.
Okay. Hopefully my internet doesn't break, because if my internet breaks, all your quizzes are gone. Because I'm the one who's going to trigger the event for all of you people. Okay, I think it is steady. 76 is a good number. Should we start? Anybody else who was left out? Okay, 77. I'll give it like 10 more seconds.
If anyone wants us to wait, just ping. Otherwise, we'll just go ahead and start. Yeah, in 5 seconds. Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm starting the quiz. Get ready. Your mobile phone screens or whatever screen should refresh to show you the first question, which is what is the name of the Salesforce mascot for developers? Astro, Cloudy, Ruth, Cody. Your 20 seconds are almost up. And the answer is Cody. 46 people got it right. 11 people, 13, 1 got it wrong. So again, you can actually, while you're waiting for the results, you can take a look at all the objects that we created for this and all of it. Just explore. Get ready for the next question. What must exist before you can create a roll-up summary field? Headaches, lookup relationship, master detail relationship, a relationship between two objects. Now, those of you who have attended this quiz previously, you might find some questions repeated, but that is intentional. The first two questions are supposed to be easy, but after this, questions will change. Those of you who are here for the vouchers, stay tuned for the difficult questions. Okay, cool. So getting the easy questions correct, let's increase the difficulty a little bit. What cannot you do with the navigation service in Lightning Web Components? Navigate to a record, read URL parameters, open a file, or render a record on PDF. So what is not the capability of navigation service? And the answer is D, render a record on PDF. Navigation services for basic navigation only. Now the fourth question on your screens, what is the API version of Summer 20? I've actually mentioned it during my talk in a very subtle way. Is it 47, 48, 49, 50? Okay, the answer is C, 49. Many people got it wrong, but yeah. So how are parameters passed by in Apex? I mean, this is a developer group, so I thought have some developer questions. But the answer should be fairly obvious, by the way. Passed by reference, by value, primitives by value, and objects by reference, or by binding. So the answer is C, primitives by value and objects by reference. I think because of this question, the leaderboard massively changed, which is good. That is what we are looking for, to spice things up. And the next question, I think it's the fifth one. Sixth, which API is ideal to load more than 1 million rows in Salesforce? Now, which is ideal being the keyword. SOAP API, bulk API, REST API, metadata API. Now, I was told we were giving out $400 vouchers, so I kept a little bit of architect-oriented questions also. Okay, most of you got it right. B is leading, followed by Ashish Kumar, Anuj, Mangesh, and Syed. Seventh question, which is not a valid decorator supported in LWC? Is it API, track, wire, read-only? LWC launched about a year and a half ago, and we spoke about this quite a lot. It should be fairly easy to answer this question. And the answer is C, read-only. API, track, wire, all of those are needed. And the leaderboard again changed. Now we have Ashish on the top, Anoj, Syed, Vivek, and Himanshu. Finally, eighth question, which feature was added to the Salesforce platform to bundle permission sets together? Is it permission set groups, queues, or permission set bundles? I think this is also a hands-on exercise on the release module of Spring 20, I guess. Spring 20 admin maintenance release module has this. And the answer is A, permission set groups. Yes, I think the leaderboard is still changing. Let's see the last 2 or 3 questions, how people answer the last but one question. Which feature in LWC allows to access data in Salesforce without writing an Apex class? Is it Lightning Message Service, Visual Workflow, Salesforce Forms, or Lightning Data Service? I think I can eliminate 2 options right now. A and D is confusing, but most of you got it right. And this is the last question that I'm going to show, which is going to determine the fate of those certification vouchers. You use what tool to create your own branded mobile app? Community Builder, Mobile Publisher, Process Builder, or Flow? I think the question might seem difficult, but looking at the options, I definitely think there is only one option that is relevant. And the answer is B, Mobile Publisher. The other things are not really used for creating branded apps. It is for creating apps on Salesforce. And I think let's look at the leaderboard. The winner is Syed with 8672 points, 9 questions correct, 1 incorrect, followed by Rahul Sharma, Saktivel, Madesh, Viraj, and Anuj.
Hi Aditya, I am 6th.
Okay, somebody is 6th. Manish, I'll leave it up to you to figure that out. I mean, if you're 6th, it will be shown on your phone. You can take a screenshot and give it to him maybe. But these are the top 5 winners. I will take a screenshot. I forgot to take a screenshot with the number of players. I'm hoping one of you have taken it and posted on Twitter. But yes, I think that pretty much wraps it up. We are almost done. Trailblazer mentorship I thought of covering, but Manish has already done it. Do take these quests. Quests is a wonderful way of winning vouchers, certification vouchers, as well as gift cards. Take a look at quests as much as possible. And yeah, thank you. I think that was the last slide I had, but we still have 6 minutes, I think. But if you want to discuss something with me, you want to ask any questions, I'm open for the next 6 minutes.
Yeah, I think thanks, Aditya. The winners, please, can you? I'll also try to reach you, but if you can you please put your email address in the chat?
Maybe you might want to talk to him. But yeah, for the vouchers, Manish, you might want to give that out.
Yes, yes. So I'll contact those who have won. So I should have their email address. But if not, if you're already in this meeting, right? So can you just please drop your email address? Then I'll just ping you after the meeting. So Syed, Rahul Sharma, Satvikel, Viraj, and Anuj. Yeah. Will we get the recording and link and slides? Yes. I'll email. I'll try to email the recording link as well. It will be on the event page for now. Once we upload, I'll upload it tonight. Then I'll also email everyone with this link and link. I think I got all the emails as well. Syed, Viraj, Anuj, and Rahul. Okay.
Okay, so I'm glad all of you liked the session. I mean, in case some of you didn't like the session, also please drop a note to me on Twitter and let me know so that I know where I need to improve. But yeah, I hope that the session was really helpful, at least until a level where you know that certain feature exists, so that you can dive deep on it on your free time. By the way, the recordings for all of the sessions are available on the TrailheaDX website. Go and check it out.
Thanks, Aditya. It was a great session. Yeah. Thank you all for joining. Appreciate your time joining us. I hope you learned a lot from this session, and we'll continue to do these sessions in the future as well. So probably maybe August we'll try to do another one for the Singapore developer group. Yeah. So if you have any questions, feel free to ping me after this call also on Twitter or on the email address. So that's all for now. We'll leave now. See you in the next one. Thank you all.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Aditya. Bye.
Sure. Bye-bye.